Okay, Chair Josie, you can go ahead and start the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this meeting of the Projects and Services Committee of LAVTA to order. It is 4 o'clock. We have, I think we have a quorum. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Vice Chair Bonanno.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Director Halbert. Director Halbert.
He's been connecting to audio for quite some time. I'm wondering if he's...
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of hung up for some reason. He is here in this meeting. We'll see if he can get connected. I'm Chair Josie.
And I am here.
You have a quorum.
Our next order of business is the meeting open to the public. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on items on our agenda or on items that are within our subject matter?
I don't see any attendees in this meeting, and I didn't receive any public comment via email.
Okay. And we will move right along to our minutes from last meeting. Does anyone have comments? Or I'll entertain a motion.
Brown to make a motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Vice Chair Bonanno.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Director Halbert.
Aye.
Chair Josie.
Aye. Thanks. Just in time, Dave.
Just in time.
Just in time. Okay, our next item is item number 5, Dial-A-Ride Customer Satisfaction Survey. Michael, is this you?
I think we'll have Tone, our
right.
Director of Operations and Innovation.
Thank you. Let me see, I can share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
We can, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, good afternoon. In an effort to continue improve our die-ride service, LAVTA conducts a ride-ship satisfaction survey once a year. However, due to the pandemic, a survey was not conducted in 2020, but one was conducted in 2021. Before I dive into the survey result, I'd like to provide a brief background on the approach and methodology. Due to us having a large number of ADA certified customer, we weren't able to poll everyone. So respondents were limited to the user of the die-ride service in the last 12 months, with a strong emphasis on riders that have used the service since the inception of the pilot program with County Connection, which began on April 1, 2021. In total, 284 surveys were conducted, with the majority of the survey consists of phone interviews. 60% of the customers we interview have used the service since April. And as you know, the primary goal of the survey is to assess customer satisfaction during the trip booking process, their experience at pickup, their experience during the ride, their experience at drop-off, and their overall experience with the service. And given that this presentation was included in your committee packet, I won't bore you with all the details by going through each slide. Instead, I'll just highlight the key areas of findings, but please feel free to chime in if you have questions regarding the other slides. So for the trip booking process, we asked, were you able to reach customer service quickly? 82% of the respondents agreed or strongly agreed, while 12% disagreed or strongly disagreed, with 6% being neutral. As you can see, this is the first time in the last 4 surveys that we conducted where we received an average score that's above 4 for this question. So it's really nice to surpass that benchmark. Just in case, in terms of how the assignment of the score works, strongly disagree is basically a 1, disagree is a 2, neither agree, ignore, disagree is a 3, agree is a 4, and strongly agree is a 5. So a median is basically the average of all the scores. So next, also during the trip booking process, we asked how do they interact with the reservationists. So we asked were the person on the phone courteous, So as you can see, this, so although there's a drop off in terms of the agree from 2019, going from 61% to 48%, there is a significant improvement on the strongly agree. So a lot more people are happy with the other person, the person on the other side of the phone. So similarly, when we asked if the person on the phone was knowledgeable, overall, we did see an improvement in this category. So for the pickup experience, I think it's the same trend across the board where you see there's a reduced number of people saying agreed, but you see an uptick in the strongly agree, which is better, right? That means they're giving them 5 instead of a 4. So as a result, you see the overall score going up, even though you see a slight decrease in the agreed category. So that's with the pickup experience. And then similarly with the ride experience, again, you see an increase in strongly agreed and an overall increase going from 4 to 4.14 in this year. Same with drop off. And then in terms of overall experience, we are seeing an increase or improvement from year to year, going from 3.61 2 years ago to 3.74. So overall, people are happier with the new service provider compared to the previous contractor. So this is a summary results of all the questions that were being asked. So you look at the far right-hand column, you notice that there is an improvement across the board with all the questions. So I think overall we're very happy with the results. But again, there's always definitely an opportunity for improvement because we want to get close to 5 or as close to 5 as possible. So in terms of next steps, although on-time performance is currently at an acceptable rate of 85%, LAVTA staff will continue to work with the contractor to monitor and improve the service quality. Also during this process, we receive a handful of comments from the customer saying that they're not receiving communication on when the vehicle will arrive, basically the status of the vehicle when they're waiting. This is an area where we should be able to improve by promoting the My Transit app. So with this new contractor, there's a transit app. There's an app that a customer can download. And this app will enable passengers to view and cancel their rides. They can see the vehicle on a real-time map. They can rate their ride or their drivers, and they can give written feedback about their ride or driver within the app. Last week when we checked, there's only 25 people who have registered or downloaded the app. So there's definitely opportunity to increase that number if we just market it and promote it. So with that, I would be happy to answer any question you might have.
Okay, there's certainly a lot to like about this. So questions, Director Bonanno.
Yeah, a couple quick questions. First, Tone, do you know what fraction of our riders speak English or Spanish? And point of my question is probably clear. How many people who participate in the system really aren't able because of language issues able to respond?
I don't have that number readily available.
Do you have any guess? I mean, just wondering, yeah, a guess would be good. I'm just trying to get a feel for it.
I don't, sorry, but
Okay.
I can get that to you shortly after the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it just would be interesting if it was more than just a couple % of people that can't participate. You know, we might think, I know it's expensive to do translations and not easy, but we have substantial Asian population, other ethnicities that might not be covered under this. We just might want to look into it. And my second question is, you're on your very last slide. Just not quite sure I understand your bottom line there. Once again, the lowest rated statements relate to hold times not being an issue or being an issue.
I believe not being an issue.
I'm not sure what that means then. I'm sorry.
So one of the question, let me see if I can pull the other slide. So here's the other question. Was hold time not an issue?
Okay, so it's sort of like a double negative. So,
Mhm.
so what really was one of the issues was there was more than some of the other questions where people disagreed that
Mhm.
hold times were not an issue, implying that hold times might have been an issue for those people.
Correct. So
Okay.
typically we strive to answer all calls within 60 seconds. So if that's not the case, then you wouldn't get a high score on this question.
I got it. Just the way it was worded was, I want to make sure I understood it. Okay. Yeah, I think these results are generally pretty good, you know, and just always great to look for places that we can attack things that might make people, you know, consider rating the system a 5 and they feel better about the service they get. But thank you for this. It's my first time seeing this. So, I mean, my first round with LAVTA seeing this kind of survey. So thank you very much.
Mine as well.
Mayor Brown, do you have some questions?
I do, thank you. Questions and comments. So Tone, mathematically, and I know I've got a math wizard on here with Gina, but maybe you can help me. Mathematically, how did you treat the neither agree nor disagree? Is that a 3?
I believe the way the method is set up, it is a 3.
Because when I vote, like maybe I don't know, I haven't ridden in a long time or forgot. That's not a moderate, like a C+ grade or a C grade. That's like almost thinks it should be out of the statistic because I know it's like I have a no vote. Neither agree nor disagree isn't the same as it was average. You know what I'm saying? So I know you have a long history of these surveys. And so I know we need to be consistent, but when somebody asks me, do you agree or disagree? I said, well, I don't care. You know, I didn't go see the movie or something like that. It's not an average rating. Good news is the agree with the overall high level of satisfaction. If you could put that one up, please. Yeah, the overall satisfaction, well, let's see, your chart's a little different. Okay, I'm looking at pickup. Okay, sorry, overall satisfaction experience is, yeah, we did creep up a little bit in the very high. We stayed consistent in the high, but many of these, that high dropped because the very high went up. This one's sort of keeping it a little bit on the even side. But still, I think, you know, overall, we can do better. Look at how overall was 61% not long ago. So it sure would be nice to get back to those kinds of figures. It wasn't all that long ago. I think I was on the board back then. But one last thing about the hold time. I wonder if that question, it just as a board member, Banana was a little confused, so was I. I think it's fair to say, was your hold time over 60 seconds? Because that's our target. Because sometimes I call in and I expect a call pickup right away, and anything more than that, I'm kind of frustrated. But if I knew a hold time was expected to be 60 seconds or less, then I would be more comfortable with a short 15-second hold time. So I just wondered if there wasn't a way to word that so that we knew what an acceptable level was, and so that they knew how to rate you. Does that make sense?
It does. So we can definitely incorporate that in the next cycle.
So a little bit of clarification. And last on the question about different languages, we have done in the past testing for wheels where we had a person on the bus ask people questions and they were multilingual. So it would be nice to be able to have somebody respond to say, you know, I speak Spanish, I don't speak English or something like that, so that we could get their data in this, or I speak Vietnamese or something that's, you know, a little bit different to be able to accommodate. Even if it was like, hey, could I have somebody call you back that knows your language, something like that. But overall, looks like we're doing pretty darn well. Okay, thanks a lot.
I have a question that's a follow-on to Mayor Brown's question about the neither agree nor disagree. I didn't look closely enough to see if there were the same number of respondents for every question. Were respondents allowed to skip questions or just say, I don't have an answer to that one?
I believe that I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But I would think that they would have the option to, and I think they would assign the neutral score for those responses.
I wouldn't think you would want to assign a neutral score to a non-response.
Okay.
That would skew your results quite a bit. You would want to have a non-response is not averaged in as a neutral response because maybe they didn't call in themselves, or maybe they didn't, there may be something that's just not applicable to them. So it's a neutral response is I don't strongly agree with that statement. I don't strongly disagree with that statement. I am neutral, as opposed to I don't have experience with that item that you're asking me. Or I don't want to answer that question for whatever reason it is.
That's it. Good point. I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah. Other than that, I think there's some really good news here. I think it's very clear that the service as we're providing it now is being perceived as being superior to what we were providing in 2019 and 2018. And I'll just say that it was interesting to me that the overall experience score seemed to be lower than you would think if you looked at each of the individual questions. And I think sometimes it takes perception a little while to catch up to reality when if you've been unhappy with the service, not that they've been generally unhappy, but if service has gone down, it takes a little while to rebuild your trust. And so I think that may be what we're seeing a little bit in that last question, the overall satisfaction question. And I think that the good news is, as we continue to deliver great service, that score will naturally increase. So I think this is great news, all in all. Anybody you have your hand up again, Director Bonanno?
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. I agree. If they don't answer the question, it needs to be another category that we don't put into any of the statistical analysis. And I assume this was done with a research marketing firm. So I assume they handle that properly, so that anything that is a 3 was actually an answer, which is like, I don't feel strongly either way, in which case it should be averaged in. And what this really is just a straight average. I mean, if it's 3.74, it just means that on average, the score was 3.74. It would be good to see, has another column on that bar graph, how many people didn't respond to what questions. And I'll just reiterate, I also think, I agree with what you said, Director Josie, that sometimes these things take a while you need to see this over years. The trend, even though it's up a little bit from last year, is not statistically significant. I mean, it's smaller than the plus minus that you quoted at the beginning. So it's sort of holding steady. I mean, they all are kind of incrementally up, but none of them are really statistically significant. But I think it's always really good to measure ourselves in all of these things, and really, just think that's the only way you improve, is to know what people are telling you about what they like and don't like. So thanks again for that.
Great. And we don't have an action item on this item. You're just receiving the report. So does anyone have any final comments before we move on from this? Okay, great news on this survey. I think that it reaffirms that we are indeed on the right track, that we've done the right thing by partnering with County Connections. And I look forward to next year's survey, because I think it's going to go up even further, personally. All right, with that, we'll move on to the Executive Director's report.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Couple of items. Your ridership's going back up on your fixed route system. I think that's one of the key sound bites with the Omicron variant seemingly kind of on its way out. Hopefully that ridership starting to return. So we're hoping for a really solid month of March. Again, overall, it's a little bit less, I think, overall, just under half of what ridership it was pre-COVID. So we're working hard to hire and train more employees. I think that's one of the key focuses here behind the scenes, is really just getting in a position to be able to ramp up ridership as folks are starting to come back, feeling comfortable about coming back. You know, in regard to that survey with the paratransit, I think one of the challenges that Tone has with his team as they work with County Connection and our joint partnership is really increasing productivity on that paratransit system as people are more and more comfortable with shared rides coming out of the COVID, hopefully. You know, as we work to be more productive on riders per hour, which means finding more efficient ways to connect folks and create that shared ride environment, that certainly drives on-time performance, at times issues there with on-time performance and customer satisfaction. So it's a really delicate balance, and when appropriate, Tone's been given direction and is taking advantage of opportunities to increase that productivity. So that'll be interesting as we go forward to try and get that balance right. I've got a couple other things in the executive director's report. Tony, just as you're totally aware, Tony did a fantastic job with the Madden bus. And Tony, you want to take 30 seconds? Anything on your mind in particular in regard to that project that I know you did a good job in the executive director's report filling in the board?
Wow. Hard to believe that was just 2 weeks ago today, that the event was over at the Coliseum. And, you know, we wouldn't have been invited to that event if it wasn't for Supervisor Haubert's office kind of nudging some people in Oakland and getting us a parking space right next to the original Madden Cruiser. So I appreciate that. And Director Narum having an email address for Mike Madden didn't hurt either, because it was his event and we had to get his permission in order to be there. And so by having his email address, he had already seen the vehicle. He was happy with it. He thought it was great. So yeah, it is an incredible event over there. We didn't go inside, but from the crowd that was outside, there people were just in front of our bus for 3 solid hours taking pictures in front of the bus. And I think the board will remember that along the way, we were looking at an expense of about $6,000 if we were to purchase those 2 images from Getty Images just for 2 months. And then the Raiders gave them to us for free. And lo and behold, now there are pictures on Getty Images of our bus that you can now purchase the licensing rights to an image of our bus. And I think something else that was kind of cool is on the Raiders' actual website, they did a pictorial on the event, and they actually show our bus, and below it is a caption that says, "The Madden Cruiser is at the event." So we even fooled them. Then it was picked up by AP, so it's been in newspapers all across the country. It's been on news stories, and a lot of reporters were using our bus as their live shot backdrop. So it's interesting. It's been rotated among all the routes in the system, the regular routes, and operations is going to start rotating it on all of the school trippers starting this week, so that every single neighborhood that we serve will have a chance to see the bus.
That's great. And I had an opportunity to ride on the bus on Friday when we did a field trip on the 503 route for some of our Valley High School kids. So it was a big hit, particularly with the staff that were on the bus with us. So we really appreciated you sending the Madden bus out for that field trip. That was great. I mean, we appreciated the field trip for all kinds of reasons, but that was the cherry on top. So that was
Yeah.
Mayor Brown, you had a comment?
Yeah. Oh, let's get them off. How cool. How cool. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Michael and David and Kathy Narum and everyone that contributed. I just was looking at this picture and I wondered if Tony was in the ape suit there. On Valentine's Day, that's what you did?
Well, yeah, that's me. I didn't know that you'd be able to recognize my eyes through that suit.
No, seriously, it is? No, it isn't.
That was one of the more normally dressed individuals at this event.
I just think it was such a big celebration. It put Wheels LAVTA in the news yet again, which is super cool. And maybe it'll make itself onto a calendar for transit, like we had our little toaster, our little SAV. So yeah, really, really a wonderful thing. And I'm so proud to see it going around town. I didn't know I should wave to see Jean Josie in it, but whenever I see it, it's like a neck turner. Oh my gosh, there it is. This is so cool. So those wraps, although I really appreciate our sponsor wraps, this one is really special, and I'll be looking forward to it circling all over the Tri-Valley for years to come.
I've asked our operations people to put it on the Route 8 every Saturday, at least for a while, so it goes by the farmers market, a couple times an hour, so that people in downtown Pleasanton can see it.
That's awesome.
Supervisor Halbert.
I think we should take a road trip to Vegas in it. And
There
watch
we
the
go.
Raiders play. Anyway, great job as a team effort, and everything worked out really, 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 really well. And so happy with the outcome. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else you want to highlight for us?
In March, at your board meeting, we'll have an update on Atlantis, on the development of those plans. They're moving towards 60%. And so Kimberly Horn will be with the board to talk about that. I think a couple of big dates to just keep in mind. April 6th is the date that the date that the proposals are due for paratransit services. We're right in the mix of getting the budget ready. So that's a really important day to see what we get back as far as cost for paratransit for the next couple of years. At the Project and Services Committee meeting in March, so at your next meeting, we'll have our folks back from CTE to talk about that master plan and the rollout plan for the zero emission buses and the projects associated with that. SAV project, Tone and I continue to work behind the scenes. We're in a really good position funding wise, I think, for phase 2. But as you'll recall, it takes a couple of years to procure and then take delivery of the speedier SAVs, these shared autonomous vehicles. So Tone and I have been working on kind of a phase 1.5, kind of an intermediary phase to keep that project in public view. I think we'll be back next month to chat with you about that. We've got several firms working with us on potential ways to move forward. And then Supervisor Aubert, the Dublin parking garage, obviously that's a big project. And March 15th is a really important date. That's the date that your staff will bring you hopefully a consideration for award for the design build of the project. There's a hard and fast deadline in April with the California Transportation Commission in regard to that project needing to be awarded. So hopefully staff will keep that on your agenda for March 15th, and you'll have some success in awarding that. And I'll provide more information as we get closer to that for you from a LAVTA perspective. But I think that's it. I mean, there's a lot of projects in motion and staff's really working hard. But certainly if there's one that's on your mind that I haven't covered today, I'd be happy to chat about it.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Halbert.
Thanks, Michael. If you could just make sure that my staff knows about that deadline. I'm sure they do, but sometimes things get bumped from the agenda. But I'll make sure you said the 15th again?
Yeah, it should be on your March 15th agenda, and that deadline's in early April, so it may not have an opportunity to get back with you if for some reason it's not on your agenda on the 15th or it doesn't get awarded on that date. But CTC's let us know that it's a pretty hard and fast deadline on their end.
No, we meet almost every Tuesday, but
Perfect.
good point. But early is on time. On time is late. We don't want to be just under the wire. We want to get a couple weeks in advance. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Mayor Brown.
If I could, Supervisor Halbert might be able to help us, but I drive by the BART parking lot and it used to be packed. And that was when this parking structure was moving forward because we were so limited in parking. And now things are pretty different. I wondered if there is in Sacramento for funding, for example, if there is a reduction in desire to build parking structures for organizations such as BART with fewer ridership. Could that put a damper on the project? I mean, obviously, it was in great need when it was proposed.
I don't know about Sacramento, but the excitement and the desire here hasn't waned. And so, you know, I think like Michael said, there's a deadline. If you meet it, you'll qualify. If you don't, you won't. And whether they would give us an extension or find another way to get us the money because they really wanted it to happen, probably not. But that's why we're putting ourselves in a position to make it happen. I think none of us know how long the effects of COVID will be with us. None of us know the long-term effects of COVID on us, or how long, 5, 10, 15 years. But I got to imagine that, or if there are many major shifts in behavior, people moving to the suburbs and or commuting and working from home. These are all things that could be permanent changes that we just don't know about. But we're also going to continue to have growth in population, and so at some point it'll fill back up again. None of us know when, and so
I wondered if there's a fee to it as a follow-on question. If there's a fee to the parking there, could it be used for park and ride? Because right now, if a resident parks in the BART parking lot, they have to go inside and register their lot number. And it's only from inside past the gates of your BART ticket that you can pay for your spot. So in this proposed parking structure, is it one, since it's going to run through the county and the city of Dublin, is it one that you would pay for your spot out in the lot and you wouldn't have to be a BART rider?
That's a great question, Michael. Could indeed, any extra capacity parking at a BART station when people are not taking the BART, and that could be for a number of reasons. They're working from home, or I just am fed up with riding on a BART train with the way that experience has been. I'll reserve my comments. But indeed, any extra capacity could be used for park and ride, by anybody. BART could do that with its own empty parking spaces. And you have raised a really good point, Michael. Who would be the decision maker on that? If we were to say, X number of spaces, if we experience that they're not being used, X number of spaces could be used for park and ride. Who would handle that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And Jennifer Yeamans, I think, is on in the meeting on the Zoom. But I think the long story short is the way this is getting set up is that the county will be the agency that will manage the parking garage, own and manage the parking garage after it's built. So I think when it's all said and done, it'll probably be a county decision as to how you would like to manage ideas such as that one, which could be great ideas, especially if there's excess capacity.
Yeah, as long as you pay for it outside of the BART station, unlike the BART station, because even there is shopping centers nearby and employees maybe could park there, right? There's just a plethora of options. There's a lot of housing there nearby, and sometimes the housing is very limited for parking. So could somebody park there for whatever, $5 a day, and that would be a way to have an extra vehicle for those restricted parking developments.
It's a great
Okay,
idea.
thanks.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the design for this parking garage was specifically done so that down the line, if parking capacity wasn't needed, the garage could be converted into some other mixed use correct?
One floor.
Just the bottom floor.
Yeah, great point.
You know, there are options with this so that it could be retail on the bottom, it could be workspace on the bottom, WeWork type things. There's other things that can be done as part of this building as well.
Maybe IKEA parking on the second floor.
Yeah. Yeah, make them rent it. Yeah. As long as we get the money for it. I mean, we're putting the taxpayers are putting a lot of money to the structure. Okay, thanks.
And with that, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, unless anybody has other comments for Michael on his executive director's report. Seeing no hands, you already previewed for us quite a few of the dates for things that are coming. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the upcoming agenda items for us?
One of them to point out is we're certainly taking a look at all of our revenue contracts. And Tony's done a great job, obviously, in working with Las Positas College and setting up the student fee program. So I think he'll be with us here in March to talk about how he's envisioning the MOU with Las Positas College. So you can ask some questions about how it's been implemented and how we hope to implement moving forward.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments on that? Excellent. Well, with that, I think we have reached the end of our agenda. My computer I lost the agenda here. Make sure that I don't have anything else. Okay, do we have any matters initiated by board members? Seeing a whole lot of head shaking. Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for March 28th at the same time, and we will see you then. We are adjourned at 4:37. Thank you, everyone.